I like a bit of danger to be involved in. The work, some size to the challenge. So, that was definitely there. Because it was such a big movie to be involved in. The man who became Hollywood's greatest villain almost never acted at all. Alan Rickman was 26, successful, and running his own design company when he shocked everyone. He abandoned everything to become the oldest student at drama school. His friends thought he was crazy. His bank account said the same. But this late start was just the beginning of a life full of secrets. He nearly turned down Die Hard. He never got an Oscar nomination despite being called the best actor of his generation. And in his final days, he left behind 26 diaries containing over 1 million words of secrets. Alan Rickman's story began far from the glamour of red carpets. He was born on February 21st, 1946 in a council estate in Acton, West London. His parents, Margaret and Bernard, raised 4 children in the tough reality of post-war Britain. Life was not easy. His father worked as a painter and decorator. His mother took care of the home until she had to step in and earn money too. The family lived among rows of gray buildings, a place marked by rationing, frugal meals, and second-hand clothes. Alan often said every bit of uniform was hard-won, and queuing for free lunch tickets every Monday morning was a routine he never forgot. Then came the tragedy that changed everything. When Alan was only 8, his father died from lung cancer. The loss hit like a storm. Overnight, the family's fragile stability broke apart. Margaret became a single mother, juggling jobs and raising 4 children on her own. She worked for the post office and did whatever she could to keep the family afloat. At one point, she remarried to find security, but the marriage lasted just 3 years. Alan admired her strength. He called her a tigress, a woman who never let circumstances crush her. Watching her struggle gave him a deep sense of responsibility and empathy that stayed with him for life. Amid this hardship, Alan discovered an escape. At 11, he stepped onto a school stage for the first time. It was a nativity pantomime mix, and he played Captain Hook. That moment changed him. For a boy living in a cramped flat with second-hand clothes, the stage felt like another world. He loved the costumes, the energy, and the applause. Later, he said acting was a window out of everyday life. This first role foreshadowed his career. Decades later, he would still be playing complex villains that audiences couldn't forget. Education became Alan's lifeline. In 1956, he won a scholarship to Latimer Upper School. It was a world far from the council estate. The school had resources, teachers who believed in him, and opportunities he had never imagined. But life there wasn't always easy. Alan stood out as a scholarship boy. He remembered the awkwardness of wearing hard-earned uniforms and lining up for free lunch tickets among wealthier classmates. Yet this experience shaped him. It taught him resilience and gave him the hunger to succeed. At Latimer, Alan discovered drama and calligraphy. Both demanded precision and patience, qualities that later defined his work on stage and screen. When he finished school, Alan didn't dive into acting right away. From 1965 to 1968, he studied graphic design at Chelsea College of Art. He became obsessed with typography and layouts long before computers made design easy. He worked tirelessly on projects, even contributing to underground magazines. In those years, he learned discipline and detail, skills that would later influence his acting. After graduation, he co-founded a design studio in Soho called Graffiti. The company thrived. They worked on book covers, magazine illustrations, and album sleeves. It was a creative hub in swinging London, a place buzzing with ideas. By all accounts, Alan was successful. He had financial security and a respected career in design. But something inside him was restless. At 26, Alan made a decision that shocked his friends. He wrote a letter to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, RADA, asking for an audition. Most actors started at 18, but Alan was ready to risk everything for a dream. RADA accepted him on a scholarship, making him the oldest student in his class. While others worried about grades, Alan worried about mortgage payments. Still, he worked harder than anyone, channeling his design discipline into acting. Within weeks, he transformed from a graphic designer to a Shakespearean student. Life outside school also changed. Around the same time, Alan met Rima Horton at Chelsea College of Art. They began a relationship that lasted a lifetime, over 50 years. They lived quietly, far from the noise of fame. In 2012, they married in secret after decades together. Alan often called Rima a saint for her patience and loyalty. They chose not to have children, a decision they both respected deeply. Alan's leap from design to acting paid off. He left RADA with awards and respect. Within 10 years, he went from the oldest student in his class to one of the most celebrated actors in the world. It was 1978 when he first appeared on screen. He played Tybalt in Romeo and Juliet, part of the BBC's grand project to film all 37 of Shakespeare's plays. The very first one aired on December 3rd. That night, Rickman's intense performance stood out. That version of Tybalt hinted at the villains he'd later make iconic. But back then, he was sharing the screen with big names like Dame Celia Johnson and John Gielgud. Still, he held his own. In the next few years, Rickman stayed mostly on stage, but in 1982, he got the role that made people stop and stare. He played Reverend Oadius Slope in the Chester Chronicles. This wasn't a normal villain. Trollope Slope was sneaky, slimy, clever, but somehow Rickman made him magnetic. Audiences didn't know what to feel. They hated him, but they couldn't look away. One critic even joked that women were falling for Slope instead of the romantic lead. That was the power Rickman had. His Slope wasn't a stereotype. He was twisted and charming at the same time. And just like that, Rickman went from stage regular to serious television star. But before all that screen attention, Rickman spent years sharpening his craft with the Royal Shakespeare Company. Right after leaving the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, he joined the RSC and worked constantly from 1978 to 1985. He acted in The Seagull, As You Like It, and dozens of others. He rehearsed